It's Kaya with the Maven Movement. This is a safe space for Black women because we understand that even though you're rarely ever allowed to say how you really feel, you've got something to say. Now, if you're a part of our weekly family, welcome back. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe. Now, with that, let's get to it. So there is so much in the news today, honey, but there are just a few things that I wanted to address and break down for you. Okay, the first thing we're going to break down is Robert Sylvester Kelly. Now, Mr. Kelly was found guilty of 9 counts of felony charges, which includes racketeering and sex trafficking. However, that's not the story that I would want to talk about today. No, ma'am. No, sir.
No.
The story that I want to talk about today is the fact that R. Kelly streams and sales have soared in excess of 500% after the guilty verdict. You heard what I said, 500%. The sales and streams have gone up after this guilty verdict. According to the New York Post, in this whack pun that they used, it appears that crime plays. So it's also, the New York Post goes on to say that R. Kelly may be trapped in prison, but trapped in the closet, and a slew of his other hit singles are surging in popularity following his conviction on sex trafficking charges. The disgraced singer's album sales have jumped a whopping 517% since the New York jury handed down their guilty verdict on September 27th. And this is according to the New York Post and Rolling Stone magazine. Now, I'm not really sure how to feel about that because of the fact that usually when things happen with people, whether it's charges or death, people start to buy their music and people, start to stream their movies depending on the celebrity or the entertainer. However, in the case of R. Kelly, it's almost like Stockholm Syndrome. And I'm going to tell you why. I want you to go with me to the book of Maven, the fifth chapter. Okay? I need you to go to the 5th chapter, first verse. Okay? Now, in my most humble opinion, we as Black people have been through an exorbitant amount of trauma. We have had trauma from being stolen from our native land and then being brought over here in chains, watching our family members, our tribe members die at sea or be killed or jump overboard because they would rather die than live in bondage, right? And then you have 400 plus years of trauma that we have endured on this soil, U.S. soil, right? And not only have we endured that trauma, then we have also endured a legacy, if you will, of sexual violence, not just with women, but with our men, with our children. So we've seen all of it. And during slavery, the sexual acts and the rapes that would take place on a regular basis, it was like, oh, it's Monday? Oh, somebody's getting raped. Oh, it's Tuesday? Somebody's getting raped. Oh, let's do it again on Wednesday. So this is what we are so used to. And we were not able to say anything, right? Go with me. Stay with me. We were not able to say anything. We had to literally keep those feelings inside. We had to, suffer in silence and deal with the trauma in silence, right? Now, let's keep progressing. Then we have throughout, Jim Crow, civil rights movement and all that stuff, we still had a lot of now these people that were that were sexually assaulted and abused and violated on the most ugliest, heinous level. They now are having to have families and watch their families grow, knowing the shame and the hurt that they've been through. And then that trauma was passed on through our generations, right? Because now it's in our DNA, right? That trauma was passed on, passed on, passed on, passed on. And then you have Mr. Robert Sylvester Kelly, who was a victim of rape himself and molestation himself as a child. And then he grows up to be a man, does not know how to read, but yet he has this brilliance in him of music. And he's able to create such harmonious, melodic sounds and rhythms and songs. And he catapults to stardom, not dealing with the trauma that was there from when he was a boy. And then all the trauma that's also just scraped up in his DNA from generation to generation. So now you had this grown ass man who was molested as a child, does not have his mama, does not know how to read, but he has this gift. And the scripture says that the gifts comes without repentance. Oh, don't try me. I know the word, okay? So he has these gifts, regardless of how he may be on the inside. And you can tell by his music that he was battling demons and fighting demons on a regular basis by like the songs of Trading My Life or Looking for Love or I Believe I Can Fly. Or all these songs, he's made some songs that speak directly to the spirit of a person, right? But yet he battles with a pedophilia demon. He wrestles with a pedophilia demon, right? So he does all of that. And now, finally, after 30 years, he is now convicted of that crime. But he's convicted of the crime. However, his fans around him that have loved his music or they just learned about him recently. And now they're like, oh, well, I want to hear the music or whatever. So these people that are also dealing with their own trauma bonds and past issues that have not been healed. And, we couldn't say anything back then. And it just had to be like, okay, this happened. Okay, now you move on. When we were younger, a lot of us had to have had to deal with sexual abuse. I know I have. And a lot of the times you don't say anything. You just go on. Go on. A lot of us, have to be in the company of the same person that violated them. It's just like, okay, this is just how it is. So this is something that we used to. We used to excusing this type of behavior, no matter how disgustingly violent, heinous, and just downright nasty it may be. We used to. So this is why we are still able to just be like, okay, R. Kelly did this to people that look like me, and then just keep it moving because we're so used to being able to operate and acting as if everything is normal after dealing with trauma. We see people that look like us murdered in the street, laying in the street, on the news, on social media all day, every day. And we can literally be eating lunch watching the video because now we've normalized the violence. We've normalized the trauma. And because we've normalized that trauma, Kelly doing what he did is just like dealing with something that you've seen on Instagram, something that you've seen on Twitter. Because we've normalized it. And that's why this mofo streams is up 517% because we're so used to the trauma. It's just like, okay, this is what we do. This is how we make it. This is how we do as a people. It's not right. But we need to get our entire life. And R. Kelly does need to get some help. Because the stuff that came out about what he was doing to people, that brother need all of the help, prayers, and psychiatric evaluation and help that he can get, because he clearly, this is gone. That's gone. And like I had said on one of the other shows, when you are that talented and brilliant and you have that gift that he has, a lot of people that are brilliant and the level of their gift is ingenious, the logical part of their brain does not exist. It's all that creative, next level, psychedelic type mind. It's not like you and me. Like, you know how we can be like, okay, this ain't right, that ain't right. This is right, do this, don't do that. He ain't got that gene. That gene left a long time ago. And then when you add money on top of it, and you add the people around you that's going to continue to co-sign your foolishness, mm-mm. No, sir. No, sir. No, ma'am. No, sir. We're not going to do that. No, you're not going to do that. So, on top of that, Akon came out. I don't know where he been, but now he got something to say. But he said he has the right to try to make right by those he hurt. And then the people that he hurt also have the right to decide if they want to forgive him. And you know what? That I could agree with that part. I believe that Akon need to just I believe that Akon needs to have a seat. He needs to have a booster seat, because right now R. Kelly, I don't believe, has seen the error of his ways. Now, if he was going to write this, maybe he would. But he's going to a federal prison, so we don't know what is going to be his makeup while he awaits his sentencing. So we definitely will have more on that story as it unfolds. Next up, we have our dear brother Dave Chappelle, who just came out with his last installment of his Netflix series called The Closer. And I must say that I actually watched it 3 times, because I wanted to be able to have an educated opinion about the stand-up. And, I believe as a comedian that Dave Chappelle is brilliant. And I believe that this one he knocked out of the park. So, according to The Hollywood Reporter, Dave Chappelle gets a standing ovation amid Netflix special controversy. And he says, if this is what canceled is, I love it. After being called out for transphobic jokes in The Closer, the comedian performed at the Hollywood Bowl in front of Brad Pitt, Tiffany Haddish, and Stevie Wonder, and dismissed the outcry. He said, Twitter, this is real life. So, amid a swirl of controversy around the new Netflix special, The Closer, Chappelle took center stage at a star-studded event and sold-out show in LA's iconic Hollywood Bowl. Though the superstar comedian did not repeat any of the jokes that have been loudly rejected by members of the LGBTQ community, GLAAD, and the National Black Justice Coalition, he thumbed his nose at the notion of cancel culture while also promoting messages of kindness and love. The LGBTQ community and advocates are calling for Netflix to take the video down. Now, I'll say this because, like I said, I like to know what I'm talking about. So I like to have an opinion that's based in fact. So the fact is, I watched the special 3 times. Like I said, I thought it was brilliant. And number one, Dave Chappelle is a comedian. And the fact that we have come so far in a society to be able to have trans women and trans men, spearheading different companies, and, it being celebrated in different spaces. You have a gay secretary within the Biden administration. So we have come far when it comes to the rights of the LGBTQ community. Now, in my opinion, the statements that were made by Dave Chappelle, they were jokes. That's number one. Number two, he championed a transgender woman that he met, that he befriended, and that unfortunately killed herself after being berated on Twitter for 6 days. As a Black woman, those are two, that's a double entendre, okay? As a Black woman, I have had to deal with a plethora of stereotypes, discrimination, and like I was just talking about, trauma. Now, if the people that were calling for Netflix to take the special down actually watched the entire 1 hour show on Netflix, they would see that Dave Chappelle wasn't coming for trans at all. They would see that. But because of the fact that you go by these sound bites and these clips, you're not really well versed in what was actually said. And if you did see it and you're still calling for him to be removed or for his show to be removed off of Netflix, then you are not living in a real world. Like, we got bigger fish to fry. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing that Dave Chappelle said within his jokes that would warrant people to discriminate against a trans person or no. This cancel culture thing has gone too far, and there has to be a cutoff. And the thing about it that I don't particularly like is that what he said, you cannot, quote unquote, hurt a person's feelings, especially within the LGBTQ community. Now, we get our feelings hurt all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm a Black woman in America. Hello. But you know what? I got to have thicker skin than that. Let it roll off my shoulders. Dust it off your shoulders. But people don't do that anymore. They want to cancel the person's livelihood, as Dave Chappelle said, because they don't agree with what the person said. I did not agree with anything that came out of Trump's mouth at all. But he didn't care because he was doing what he wanted to do. I don't agree with a lot of things that come out of everyone's mouth. But that's what you call discourse. So now we can't have, if we can't have, a difference of opinion now in 2021? Is everybody has to have the same mind? Well, if you believe that of what you were taught all your life, that there is such thing called genders, you're canceled? Like, I just want to know where this goes, because the minute that you cancel somebody and then you turn around and you do something that is off the cuff or off the mark, then guess what? Then you're going to be canceled. So then everybody just going to be canceled. So then it's going to be what? The end of civilization, because everybody going to be canceled? It just doesn't make sense. Okay? But one thing that Dave Chappelle said that his trans friend, Daphne, told him, he said that she said that just think of me as a human having a human experience. That's it. So, if you watch Dave Chappelle's show, The Closer, you would see that he actually got to know and befriend a trans woman. And after that trans woman died, I don't know how much that LGBTQ community was behind her family to support her, to help her daughter. Dave Chappelle started a trust fund in her daughter's name. That being said, check your own heart and stop at all of this cancel stuff. Stop. Because we can literally vote somebody in office that admitted on tape that he sexually assaults women, and y'all still championing. Yeah, we got to do better as a people, and that's all I'm gonna say. We got to do better. Get it together so I can bless you. If you want to see my face and you want to change the situation, if you want to hear from me, you gotta get it together. Who was that? Who's that? Tell me who knows that song. If you can tell me who knows that song, then you my girl, you my dude. If you can tell me who know that song. Anyway, Gaia, the Melanin Maven, and as always, I'm here to break it down.